Hello and welcome back to the Second Chance to Live channel here on YouTube. Happy to see that you decided to stop by to watch this presentation. Today I will read the second part of the article that I wrote several years ago on traumatic brain injury in the identified patient. In the first part of this article, in the first part of the presentation, I share with you what I believe set me up to believe that I deserve to be bullied, or that I in some way invited that bullying into my life. In the second part of this series, I'm going to share and clarify some of those notions, as well as give some solutions to how I learned that I didn't need to set myself up to be bullied. So in order to read that part of the article, the second final part of this series, I'm going to put my glasses back on. And there will be some reflection in the video presentation. However, I cannot afford non-reflective lenses at this time. Thank you for bearing with me. Here we go with the reading of the article, series part 2. Hi, and welcome back to Second Chance to Live. In the first part of this series, I spoke about displaced sadness, shame in the identified patient, as these topics relate to family systems theory. After reading the first part, you may find yourself scratching your head and asking yourself, how does this apply to me? I'll seek to clarify and tie together those questions today. My experience has taught me that assigned or assumed family roles, such as the scapegoat, hero, mascot, or lost child, seek to control and constrain parts of the individual that displease or disrupt the family system. In the process, the individual is overtly or covertly expected to discard parts of themselves to maintain the system and a conflict and contain the conflict, secret, or unresolved loss. The roles become substitutes and the actors become reactors. The individuals within the system adopt a false self. The false self evolves out of the individual's drive to comply in order to avoid being criticized, shamed, and or threatened with emotional or physical abandonment. Second paragraph. When the individual seeks to maintain their role or identity to avoid losing love / approval, or to prevent being shamed, blamed, and criticized, they become hypervigilant. Like a cat on a hot tin roof, they seek to avoid conflict in order to maintain the role. In the process of complying, the individual's creative energy is redirected to enforce the unspoken code of the family. The individual's creative energy is used to validate their role and maintain denial. Denial is used to dismiss any need to address or process the conflict, secret, or loss. When an individual within the family system has or acquires an invisible disability, denial is used to dismiss the need to address the disability. Consequently, the individual with the invisible disability internalizes their struggles. Such internalization sets the individual up to be blamed, shamed, and made to be the problem within the family. The individual becomes the identified patient and is led to believe that they are the reason for the family's unrest and discontent. In these circumstances, the individual then takes on responsibility for what is out of their control, their invisible disability, for which they may be unaware of themselves. The irritability, restlessness, and discontent of the family system. So they absorb the family's irritability, restlessness, and discontent. Next paragraph. When the individual leaves the nuclear family, they take their role with them. The role once again becomes the vehicle that drives them as they interact with people, beyond the family system. Consequently, life for them becomes a gauntlet as they attempt to fix and compensate for the restlessness, irritability, and discontent found within their relationships. The overdeveloped sense of responsibility is mirrored through and in other interpersonal relationships. The identified patient or scapegoat consequently becomes hypervigilant in their relationships as they attempt to repair or fix the restlessness, irritability, and discontentment to avoid being criticized, blamed, shamed, and abandoned. As mentioned in part 1 of this series, these individuals become human doings rather than human beings. In the process of doing, their creative energy is exploited to manage the unmanageable. As with the other roles within the family system, the identified patient trades their creative energy for a crusade that cannot be won. In the event that the identified patient continues in that crusade, their essence will slowly be drained and distracted. Next paragraph. In my experience, I had to begin to accept myself as a person with an invisible disability before I could begin to break free from the role as an identified patient. I had to learn to accept myself as a person who has an invisible disability rather than a person who is disabled. I had to realize that although I have deficits and limitations, I am not those deficits and limitations. I had to stop living the lie that I'm responsible for other people's irritability, restlessness, and discontentment. Through identifying and accepting my reality rather than buying into anyone's denial system for me, I've been able to use my creative energy and learn from my experience rather than internalizing my deficits and limitations through the eyes of shame. I sincerely believe that I became an identified patient because of a lack of information. No one is to blame, and pointing the finger in anyone's direction is of little value. My motivation in sharing the above is not to complain, but to use my experience to illustrate a reality. People with invisible disabilities many times criticize, belittle, ostracize, and shame for matters that are out of their control. Next paragraph, next paragraph. The sad reality is that as an individual with an invisible or visible disability, you may have people in your life who want to make you the problem or the identified patient. I have good news for you. You are not the problem. The problem exists because of a lack of willingness to understand and empower. In the event that you have people in your life who, for whatever reason, want you to live through their denial, I want you to know you have a choice. You no longer need to buy into their denial system, my friend. You are the solution. You are not your disability, your deficits, or your limitations. You no longer need to live in the shadows of shame and contempt. You are a beautiful person who has an invisible disability. You are remarkable and resilient. Through accepting yourself as a person with a disability, you will find a new vitality. You will learn to embrace yourself and fly like a bird that is set free from the cage that once limited the bird's flight. You will discover your creative energy and you will use your gifts, talents, and abilities. You will move in the direction of your dreams and you will fulfill your destiny. And then I have, please read my post following your bliss regardless. Be encouraged, my friend. More will be revealed. This is the end of the video presentation on traumatic brain injury and identified patient. Again, this information can help anyone, regardless whether they have a disability, an invisible one, or not. Thank you for your time. I'll say so long for now. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you and your family. Thank you.